At the time, almost all American bands would rather postpone their European tour because traveling is far not as easy with all the pandemic sanitary measures. Do you think you have a pioneer spirit not to give up when so many bands rather postpone their tour?
Pioneer spirit, absolutely. Whether it's for touring at this time or not, I don't know. We've had to put this tour on hold a couple times, and we found a little space for us to come over and do it somewhat successfully, I hope. And so we took that opportunity, and we'll see how it goes. So, but the pioneer spirit is definitely there. We're placing the flag over here, and we'll see how it goes.
How many European tours have you already done?
I believe over the past 20 years, this is our sixth tour of Europe. Yeah, the last time we were here was 8 years ago almost now. So it's been a while, but we'll be back much sooner after this tour.
When I first saw you on stage, your bass player has had to be replaced for the tour. The original bassist of the time was Finnish, and he entered the USA with a tourist visa and stayed longer than his visa allowed. So he feared not to be able to come back if he left. Was it at the time a handicap for the band to tour outside of the USA?
Well, that was our guitar player at the time, Ron A, who was in the Finnish band Smack, and a longtime friend of mine in Los Angeles. It was a little bit difficult touring, but by the time we did do the tour, he was able to get all of his legal things taken care of. So he was able to do it and then come back to the States with no problems. Mm-hmm. But up until then, he wasn't able to do that.
The album Lost Rocks was released by the Finnish record company Hype Records. Was it thanks to this Finnish member?
Interesting. Yeah, he had a lot to do with it. I mean, it would have come out on Acetate, which is our label in the United States, or Hype, and it just happened to work out that Ron A had some contacts, and we were getting ready to do a tour, including Finland, so it just made sense for them to put it out. Also, we have two versions of that album. One's the American version, which is more extended liner notes, and the other one is kind of the quicker version that we did for that tour that Hype put out.
At your start, Keith Morris from Black Flag on Cycle Jack helped you a lot. Was he also your manager?
Yes, Keith was our manager for a few years, and our roommate and buddy, and kind of a mentor to us. So yeah, Keith had a big part in the Hangmen's early history, definitely.
Between your first album released in 1989 on Capitol Records, on your second album Metallic IOU, released in 2000 on Acetate Records, another album Suicide Doors was registered. It was mixed by Rob Younger of Radio Burman, but the record company DGC, Records division of Geffen Records, where you signed, decided not to release it. Why this decision? Is there any hope it will be released one day?
I don't think it'll ever be released as the Rob Younger production. I've taken the songs that I really was proud of off that record and put them on Metallic IOU, and I think that represents what should have been our second record anyways. I loved Rob's influence, his friendship, and his work on the record, but none of us were in a good state at that time with our drug issues. So it's not the record that I was hoping we would make.
And talking about that, the band unfortunately has been in standby several years due to this, mainly to drugs troubles. How long has the group been inactive?
Well, the band never really stopped. It just things move a lot slower when you're having substance abuse problems. So, but we never really stopped, like completely, you know. So, but in the public's eye, we did, you know. So it was about maybe for like 7 years. It was very, very limited shows, not really writing many songs, and just trying to. I was focused on other things. So, not after I got sober is when we started doing the Hangmen for real again.
Since your second LP, Metallic How You, released in 2000, all your records are on acetate records.
Correct.
That is to say, for more than 20 years. Can you tell us a bit more about this record company?
Well, acetate came along right when we needed them to, or we didn't even know what we needed. We were making Metallic IOU, and they approached us and wanted to put it out because they were fans of the band, and that to me was a very important thing after having like 6 years of major label dysfunction on our part and on their part. I didn't want to go through that again. So putting it out on an independent label made the most sense for where we were at the time and where we are now, you know, because we have a lot more freedom than we ever did on a major label. So they've been great, and Rick, the owner of Acetate, is a big part of the Hangmen today.
So the name of your LP, Metallic AOU, makes me think to the Stooges album Metallic KO. Is that fortuitous?
Meaning, was that on purpose? Is that what that means?
No, just the name.
Yeah.
Metallic.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
just later.
Well, yeah, it was Jimmy James came up with that title because it's a nod to Iggy, but it's also like an IOU to our fans or people who like the Hangmen, you know, because we were gone for a long period of time without releasing anything. It was like we owe you something good. So it was the Metallic IOU.
You seem to have a close connection with the Super Suckers, as you have released a split single with them. Eddie Spaghetti performed on We've Got Blood on the Two of Our Butts. Former Super Suckers, Rose Hiffman, was even in the band for East of Western. Can you talk?
I've known Eddie and Ron since the first time the Hangmen came to Arizona back in probably 1986, and they weren't the Super Suckers yet. They were another band, and they came to our show and took us out, and we partied all weekend with them and became good friends back then. And then they became the Super Suckers later, and we started teaming up for shows. After Metallic IOU came out, we started doing a bunch of tours with them. Eddie and I have been friends, and Ron have been friends for a lot of years. And then when Ron was no longer in the Super Suckers, and Ronnie had moved back to Finland, it was a perfect time for Ron to be in the Hangmen. So he did some great work on East of Western with us. And you know, since his passing, we've written a song dedicated to Ron. It's called The Last Time I Saw You.
the Hangmen has had several changes of lineup, but finally at the time only the drummer is a new number, no?
At the time, yeah. Right now, the drummer is the newest member, but Angelique has been with me for 20 years or more. Jimmy James has been the Hangman guitar player for 20 years or more, not steadily. He's quit, he's gone on to do other things, and then he's come back. So he's back. I consider this the definitive lineup of the Hangman, including George, our new drummer, George Disguster.
You have toured in support of Social Distortion, and Mike Ness even produced your 7 titles EP in the city.
Their guitar player Johnny Two Bags, he's a friend of ours, and his band, the Cadillac Tramps, and the Hangmen early on played together, and then Johnny joined Social Distortion and was always telling Mike Ness about us. And so Mike decided to have us on a show, and he really loved the band, and they took us out for on and off for almost a decade of shows and tours. So, and then when we were getting ready to do something recording-wise, Mike said he wanted to produce our next thing, whatever it was, and it ended up being in the city. And it was great to work with Mike. I, admire him as a songwriter, and he's a great guy.
When looking for the Hangman rock band on Wikipedia, there's only an all-American band from Washington, D.C. from the late 60s and a rockabilly English band. Would you be too quiet?
We've been trying to fix this problem for a long time, and I guess apparently it's very difficult to get the Wikipedia thing straightened out, and I'm busy working on Hangman songs and playing. It's unfortunate that it's like that, but it'll change. It's just taking time.
Generally speaking, in what kind of venue do you play when you play in your hometown Los Angeles and also in the USA?
Well, it just depends. We've played every venue in Los Angeles, from the Wiltern Theater to small clubs. So like the Redwood and back in the old days, Raji's. So we're playing clubs, and if we're supporting somebody else, it's usually a theater of some kind.
You released last year a CD single with a cover of Thunderhead by the Gun Club.
Yes.
The Gun Club appears to be one of your main influences. Does the name The Hangman have something to do with the Gun Club?
Yeah, in a way. It was the genre, it was the image of the West, and kind of they were calling the kind of music that we were doing cowpunk back in the day. We're a lot less cowpunk today. We're more of just a rock and roll band. But yeah, the Hangman kind of came from that. Tex and the Horseheads, the Gun Club, Screaming Sirens, these different kind of more Western type themes. That's where that came from.
You have also covered the Flaming Groovies, the Lord of the New Church, the Rolling Stones. Are all these bands major influences for you?
Absolutely.
Who other main influences for you?
All those that you've named, yeah. And I love good songs, and I love guitars. So you mix those two, and you have some great Lords of the New Church, you know, Flaming Groovies, Rolling Stones, all that stuff.
You're from Los Angeles. This summer, once again, gigantic fires rage in California. Do you feel concerned with climate change?
Of course, I'm concerned with climate change, you know, because it affects almost every city that I've lived in. You know, I just moved to Montana, so we had a lot of bad wildfires up there. I'm not in LA, only to do Hangmen stuff right now. So yes, it's concerning, and I think, you know, there's certain things that everyone could just do. They're little things, but we gotta be conscious of what we do every day in some form, and you know, just do what we can, our little part. And if everyone does that, we'll have a lot better chance, I think.
Okay, this was the last question. If
That
you
was
have
it?
something- If you have something to
No,
add.
no. That's good. Okay. Climate
Okay.
change. Wow.
Thank you.
Okay. That's heavy.